Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. Today we're talking about Annihilators with Meteoric Grand Hammers. These thick boys are coming out today for pre-order, so if you're thinking about it, let's see how good they do. Spoiler, real good. They're 240 points for 3 Annihilators, so pretty elite. That's 80 points per model. Whew. They do have 3 wounds each, 3 up save, 7 bravery, and a whopping 4-inch movement. These guys are go trek slow, but we have tricks to get them into combat, so no worries. They do get +1 to attack for the champion and reroll charges on setup turn. They have a couple of special abilities. Blazing Impact. When set up for the first time, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 10 inches of this unit. On a 3-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. They also get to reroll their charges on the turn they set up. So this is where they get their rerolls. But this is pretty nice because you can do some mortals in a bubble that's outside their setup range. Now we do have abilities to get them set up within 7 inches, so you are going to blast this AoE damage across multiple units. But if you're really just trying to take down one unit, you'll do about 2 mortal wounds via this ability to that model. What this is really good for is hitting some of those screens that are screening out that important thing. You can also take out screens with the Force of Falling Star. After the charge, pick one enemy unit within 1. Roll the dice that are equal to the unmodified charge, and 4 ups are mortal wounds. So if you make a 10-inch charge, if you roll 10, you're going to roll 10 dice, 4 ups are mortals. You do about 5 mortals. Because you're setting these guys up, you will be, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, outside of 7 inches instead of 10, you'll be getting probably about 4 mortal wounds through on this on average if you make the charge. And so you're looking at doing about 6 mortals to the unit that you're going into before you ever even do damage. Now, when we look at the damage calculations, we're not even going to consider those mortal wounds. So just all of these add 6 mortal wounds to it, basically, because that's on average what you'll be getting. So let's look at what the damage is. This is just base damage off the War Scroll card. They do have a 2-inch range, which is incredibly important for these guys because that means you can double up this unit. You can reinforce this unit so that you can fight 2 ranks deep. We've also got 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound. That is awesome because now we don't even have to worry about buffing up that wound characteristics. -2 Ren, 3 damage. Whew, these guys, they hit hard. And you also get that +1 to attack for champion. So just base War Scroll for 3 of these guys, you're looking at 13, almost 14 damage versus a 4-up save. That's pretty good for no buffs whatsoever. You're going to take out a lot of monsters with this. You're going to take out a lot of heroes. Now, they will buff them up a little bit probably, so they would probably be at a 3-up save once you hit these, or on some of them 2-up. And so it won't quite kill them, but this will kill just about most things in the game if they're not buffing it up. So you're talking about a unit of 10 wounds that's a screen. This will deal with that easy. Now remember, we're also attacking on those 6 mortal wounds. Most heroes this will take out. Smaller heroes for sure, and it'll take a big chunk out of the big ones. So what if we use just a little buffs? So let's give them +1 to hit. That's pretty easy to come by. They can spend that on themselves since they are a champion. They can give them +1 to hit. Or let's say you have them in hammers and Hammers of Sigmar sub-faction. Lord Bastion can use that ability from anywhere on the board. A lot of the heroes in Stormcast can actually use an ability, a command ability, and not even have to spend a command point for it. And so that's pretty nice. But +1 to hit gets them up to about 17 versus a 4-up. We probably really should start looking at all these numbers based on a 3-up because a lot of stuff can just easily get to a 3-up with all-out defense. But for the sake of consistency, it is about 17 on a 4-up damage. So a little bit better. But where the real fun comes in is when you reinforce that unit. So now you're taking 6 of these guys, and you're able to fight over the top. And so as long as you get your first 3 in, the 3 in the back can fight over the top. They do have that 2-inch range. So get base to base, get nice and snug with everything, and you can fight over the top. And now we're looking at 3s and 2s for all of these guys. You're getting +1 to attack for a champion, +1 to hit from all-out defense or something. And now you're at 32 damage versus a 4-up save. Once you add the mortals onto that, you can easily one-shot a Mega Gargant, unless it's buffed itself up pretty good. And so that's a ton of damage, guys. 32 damage versus a 4-up save. Even if you're looking at something that has a 2-up save, you're doing 19, almost 20 damage. Once you add in the mortals, I mean, this will kill a Kragnos. So not too shabby for not spending a lot of resources here. They're pretty much unbuffed at that point, just with +1 to attack. There are some extra things we can do if we run them in Celestial Vindicators, which I really like here, because all on Celestial Vindicators, you pick one unit in the combat phase, and any 6s to hit are an extra hit, and so that's awesome when they're such quality as these Grand Hammers. You pick this unit in the combat phase, and now any 6s they have are going to explode into an extra hit. And now we're up to almost 40 damage versus a 4-up save. Another thing I really like is the Holy Command, Unleash Thy Hatred. And this is a Holy Command is you get to pick one for a Stormcast army, and you get think of it kind of like a triumph. You have this ability that you can use once per game. This one is awesome, +1 to attacks. So if already you're getting 6s to hit in Celestial Vindicators, now you're getting +1 to attacks for this Annihilators. Whew! Now we're at 52 damage versus a 4-up save. Versus a 3-up save, you're at 41 damage. This was 100% one shot in a Mega Gargant. So this is pretty awesome. But as we talked about before, how do we get them in that close to the opponent? And there's a unit specifically designed for this, Lord-Imperatant. He is 175 points, so now you're investing quite a bit into this. But he's a 3-up save, 7 wounds, and the one thing you're bringing him for is this Guided by Lightning. Once per turn at the end of the movement phase, if any friendly units with this ability are on the battlefield, you can say that they will guide the arrival of Sigmar's warriors. If they do so, pick one friendly Stormcast Eternals Thunderstrike unit, and that is the Annihilators, with a wounds characteristics of 3 or less that is in reserve. When you use the Scions of the Storm of Allegiance ability to set up that unit on the battlefield in that phase, you can set it up more than 7 inches from all enemy units instead of more than 9. So here's how we get 7 inches. Now the interesting thing here is that at the end of your movement phase is when this happens. And so the end of the movement phase is that phase where lots of different things are going to happen. And so if you do it in the right order, you can have this guy up in reserve, put him down. You're still in the end of the movement phase. Now you can use that ability on the Annihilator. So what I like is dropping him down with the Annihilators. So he'll be outside of 10. Then he'll use his abilities to drop the Annihilators, or outside of 9. Then he'll use the ability on the Annihilators, drop them outside of 7. And then you can still use the Holy Command from this guy on those Annihilators because he is a Lord, so he has a little bit more range for that Holy Command on those Annihilators when they get into combat. And so a pretty cool little 1-2 punch. And you have to be careful with the Lord-Imperatant because if you do put him on the board and he gets sniped, then your Annihilators are not nearly as effective because they're going to have to make a 9-inch charge instead of a 7. Now, they do get to re-roll it, so that helps, but a re-rolled 7 is much better than a re-rolled 9. So in conclusion, how do we get it up to that big 52 damage? We get that with +1 to hit, which would come from all-out attack from just about anybody from their champion or from a commander, lord, or knight somewhere on the board. Reinforced this unit to give them 6 models because they can hit over the top. I'm putting them in Celestial Vindicators. I like them there for the exploding 6s. And then Unleash Thy Hatred Holy Command for +1 attacks. And you're getting 52 damage plus mortals from the setup and charge. Pretty awesome there. So how does a sample list look? Here's a list I put together, and we're really just focusing on these Annihilators with Grand Hammers. So I am taking the Celestial Vindicators, Hold the Line, Triumph is Indomitable, just in case I don't fail my Battle Shock. I'm taking the Lord Elector. I think he's going to be in almost every list. Translocation is still great, even though you can't move after it now, after the FAQ. It's still a great spell, plus he's got good War Scroll prayers as well. So he is my general with High Priest to reroll those prayers. Artifact, Mirror Shield, so he can't be shot outside of 9. Prayer, Translocation. I still want that mobility to transport stuff around the board. I'm taking my Lord-Imperatant, who's going to go up in the Celestial Realm with the Annihilators. Yndrasta, who's a named character. I'm taking a lot of this stuff from the Dominion box because that's what we got. I'm taking 3 units of Vindicators. Yndrasta can help support those guys pretty well. and then 2 units of 6 Annihilators with Meteoric Grand Hammers. Now, you're not going to set these guys up in the same turn. This is a 1-2 punch. I am taking them in Battle Regiment and Holy Command Unleash Thy Hatred. So we're looking at a 1-drop army. So my tactic here would be obviously let the opponent go first. Hopefully they get outside of their screens. They move up the board a little bit, give you those 7 inches to drop stuff down in. And you're going to drop 1 unit of Annihilators in the Imperatant down onto their important piece. If you get the double turn, you're dropping the other unit of Annihilators. And this is very much a scalpel army with except they're not using a scalpel, they're using a giant hammer. But you are taking out important pieces you need every turn. And so that's how you would operate with this. You've got to dissect their army with these Annihilators. You could also split up the second unit of Annihilators to give you maybe a little bit more flexibility. You're taking out their big giant important piece with that first drop, and then you drop in the other ones around the board as you need it. That also might be an option. So a pretty nice little 1-drop that will do a ton of damage. So pretty nasty little unit now right there. I think you'll end up seeing this combo quite a bit. The Annihilators are, damage on delivery. So pretty good. Go put in your pre-orders now or prepare to get smashed. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time.